All right, and we're live. Welcome to the On Deck episode number 3 podcast on November 21st, 2016, the show where we talk about what is happening around education and technology around the Pacific Northwest. And we'll bring in special guests like we have today, so we're very excited for that. You can join us live on YouTube or after the show on iTunes or Google Music or anywhere else you can pretty much find a podcast nowadays. Make sure you can join us on Twitter at hashtag GEGWA. So excited to be here with Lisa today. And so I'm going to have Lisa introduce yourself and then Justin, and then we'll go right into it. So Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Highfill, and I'm a teacher and an instructional technology coach in Pleasanton, California, San Francisco East Bay.
Very cool. Justin, nice to have you back as always.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and good to be with you, Lisa. Everybody, I think you may know me. I'm Justin Talmadge, Technology Integration Specialist for the Mercer Island School District and one of the co-facilitators of the GEG for Washington State.
Cool. All right, Lisa, so this is your show. Help us out here. What is a HyperDoc?
A HyperDoc is a digital lesson plan that teachers create, and they don't keep for themselves. They give it to their students to work on. And so they are amazing because they are created based on digital lesson design or really lesson design, and trying to encourage teachers how to get away from the front of the room and lecturing and create really, really intriguing and thought-provoking activities that get their kids really engaged and thinking for themselves, not having to be told or lectured how to do things. More inquiry-based learning.
So Lisa, when I think of the word hyper, I think of the word hyperlink. So within this doc, are there, I'm assuming that teachers or students can put links to things that then take them outside of the doc itself?
Yes, so hyperlink is a part of it. There are links on it. Sometimes when you look at a HyperDoc the first time, you think this is just a doc with links, and it could be perceived that way. It has links to, for example, when we talk about lesson design, we talk about first we have kids explore. So if we want kids to explore on a topic, we'll provide the links to build that background knowledge before we dive into a topic, and then we'll get them the teacher will do the explanation part. It might be on like a flip video or an article they want them to read, or we have them turn off technology on the explain portion of a lesson for a good blend, and say this is a whole class discussion, and then the apply. So explore, explain, apply. In the apply section, we get kids linked up to having choice to how they want to share what they know. It's basically the, tell me what you know now that we've learned this. And then always links to share their work and to extend, so it has a much broader audience than just their classroom.
So now that we're talking, Lisa, you'd mentioned you had some stuff ready to go to show. I think I would like to see an example, but yeah. It makes me think of back in the old days when I first started teaching. There was this activity that we called a web quest, where as a teacher I would go out and find things and then sort of walk the kids through on like a Word doc or something with links. This is kind of what it sounds like to me, but I'll be interested to see what you're showing there.
Yes, it is different from a web quest, and I'm glad you brought that comparison up because it does sound like it. This was the actual lesson template. We have a bunch of templates on our website, and the difference of a web quest is they would give you a list of links to go through, and you would search and you would answer a list of questions. And if you think about that in terms of, critical thinking and compared to this lesson design, which has you, first you engage, then you explore and explain, apply, share, and reflect, and extend, that's a big difference than just the old web quest, where we would just, quickly go through a bunch of sites and answer questions, which really in terms of critical thinking, it's a different level that we're talking about. Here's that same template transformed into a HyperDoc for a creative writing challenge. This was an elementary HyperDoc. The words are left on here for as a sample so people can understand. The engage portion this is a blended lesson actually. Turn and talk to the person next to you. Explore, we read stories, creative writing stories on Storybird. The class lesson was actually a teacher-directed lesson, reviewing all the components of good writing story. And then the apply time was they would use Storybird and begin their writing. And then we would have students post their reflections onto the doc right there. And then share their document and let each other see each other's document. And then more places to publish. So that is one example of one that we would do. Sometimes we package them on slides, though. Here's one that Kevin Ferramisco made about the outsiders. And as you go through this one, he's posted all of his standards he'll be covering and his essential questions. But what's really great, and I think this might seem like the web quest, in the explore portion of a lesson, we want kids to build background knowledge. And so he created this text set. I'm actually going to click. This is more like the web quest. We call them multimedia text sets or web quests. And he created this one to build what life was like in the 60s and what gangs of the 60s were like, and just a whole bunch of resources. So when they were in the book reading and going through this HyperDoc, they knew they had background knowledge for the time. He included a lot of activities for them as he was explaining. He even organized this by table of contents on here. So each one, chapter one, each of these were activities that the kids would go through. Click on the gang to go to your activity. And it feels like the old web quest because it leads you through this maze sometimes, but sometimes they're not quite like that. I don't know if that helps a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's one, a science one. Again,
so how is a HyperDoc just different from a worksheet? Like I was reading through some of this stuff, and I know you do. You explain that. Can you kind of explain like how is this different than just saying like, oh, it looks like a worksheet that you hand out to kids?
Yes, definitely, and I'll show you something there. The piece that, and I'm going to go back to some of mine. I've got a lot of tabs open here. In the explain portion here, in the apply. And really it's the apply portion that makes this beyond a worksheet. I know a lot of people will talk about applying their knowledge and they might post questions here. And that's what we would do in the classroom a lot of times. People were actually doing low level of application of knowledge, just posting, answer these questions or giving a test. But we like to give kids a choice about that. Let me get to, a lot of times we'll do show what you know, bingo. And we give this, in the HyperDoc, we give this actually as an option. So during the apply phase of the HyperDoc, we might link up to this and say, show me what you know, and give students the opportunity to choose a certain web tool that they feel exemplifies their knowledge the most. The tutorials are right on here, so we don't feel like we have to know everything. And then we even have the turn-in portion in the center with a Google form, and then they link to other students' projects. So it completely changes the way kids are showing their knowledge in class. No more stand up and give a presentation one at a time. We're trying to maximize that time and actually have kids look at each other's projects and synthesize information rather than just sit passively and just listen to one presentation at a time. So, a lot of people might think that the apply portion is just answer some questions, but we want kids to create in that time. So
I'm curious, Lisa, could the HyperDoc kind of methodology be used within the context of a project-based learning classroom? I mean, can it be adapted and molded to fit different ways of different pedagogy in the classroom?
Oh, for sure. So it's actually, a lot of people consider an easy way to understand it. It's packaging for your digital lessons. So it kind of puts everything in an organized manner, walks kids through your expectations. Everything's in one place as you work through. We use it for project-based learning all the time, actually. We use it for all kinds of learning. If we're working with students with special needs, we make sure that there are links on there with video options so you can hear, not just read. We give choice so students can gravitate towards the types of, the part of the assignment that is making sense to them, to give different reading level abilities a chance.
So it sounds like it can be adapted to different sort of scope and sequences. I mean, it could be used just in the frame of one particular lesson where they're exploring, explaining, and applying in the course of maybe a 90-minute class or something, or could it be expanded out through the course of a week, or even maybe within the course of a unit? I mean, can you sort of meld and mold it in that way?
Yeah, so I'm going to show you another screen we have under our resources. In our templates, we have lots of options, and we started making templates when a lot of teachers were saying, we just are not understanding what you mean by building the lesson design. We realized that it's been a long time since people were out there talking about, lesson planning. And so this was our big example, our major lesson, but we have smaller versions, just explore, explain, apply. And for our science teachers, we did the 5 E's model to help them build their lessons around that, where they would engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. We also did workshop model for teachers doing readers and writers workshop. And we have Hero's Journey lesson plan model. So that you can build this. Some of these are meant to be a 45-minute lesson, and some are meant to be a week long. You can really create it however you wish.
Okay.
We're even using them with administrators now, and we have an administration faculty meeting template. So getting to the heart of a meeting where we're not just doing nuts and bolts for an entire meeting. We're actually connecting as staff now, and we're kind of speeding that process up with getting to the heart of what we really want to discuss, giving everyone on the staff a voice. We do those with our students, so we should be doing that as teachers as well.
Yeah. So if I'm someone that wants to get, oh, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, before we started recording, we were talking about that really what this is a lesson plan more than it is anything. You made a really interesting comment, and I was just thinking about it, where you said it's been a long time since a lot of people have lesson planned. And do you find that? Do you find that this is really that new to people? Do you find like it's repackaging almost like understanding by design model in a way that is very, I guess, hyper-connected? I don't know.
Well, what we were finding is we started this because, with the Common Core starting in our state, we were getting Chromebook carts pushed into our classrooms and saying, teach with them. And nobody knew what to do. They would open up the Chromebooks with every kid on a Chromebook, and they would write a website on the board and say, go to this website and begin. And there was no actual lesson design behind the tech integration. And so we wanted to help people blend their teaching with their use of technology in the classroom for really valuable lessons besides kids just consuming. So often they were just going on and typing or researching or, printing. That was kind of the pattern I was seeing. And we wanted to have really valuable lesson opportunities for students to actually do the whole learning process. I have to say, though, HyperDocs are not meant for all day, every day. I think when we talk about using them, we talk about maybe once a week or once a unit, or picking, maybe it's for a novel you're doing or one part of a unit you're doing. And so you would do it when it makes sense, when tech is a better option to be using. I mean, I'm a big fan of writer's notebooks, and I read paper books. So it's not something that you would do all the time. It's, but if you're just really like, it started too for me with teaching European exploration. Like, why don't I have kids on Google Maps? This is crazy. But do you know how much explanation that would take? Like lots of lecture, nobody wants to hear it. But I don't want kids just on the map playing. I wanted a structured activity for them to do. And so the Explore, Explain, Apply kind of took them through that structure. And I was freed up. I was not lecturing anymore. All of a sudden, I'm wandering around the classroom. I'm pulling kids with special needs. I'm working in small groups. I'm working with my language learners. It changed the way I deliver instruction for when I do it. So now I look at it as when I really need to reach a group or I need to confer with writers, I'm going to make a HyperDoc because I know everyone else is going to be really actively engaged in their learning at the same time.
I see.
When you face teachers, and I'm sure you get this all the time, and this is a question I get that I struggle with, so I'm always asking for how other people handle it. But like when I'm doing stuff like this with teachers, a lot of times I can just see teachers going, Lisa, this is amazing. A, I don't have the time to build it. and B, I quote unquote have curriculum I have to get through. How could you ever expect me to take time to be able to HyperDoc for my kids?
Yeah, so the curriculum you have to get through is actually what I put on a HyperDoc. And I like to add layers to my lessons. I think that we feel so busy because we compartmentalize everything. And so we are, like, as an English teacher, we're teaching grammar and spelling and vocabulary and reading and writing. Well, let's build a lesson that incorporates all of that into one impactful opportunity. And that gets started. That's part of our building them. We don't like these singular lessons that take a lot of time, and it's a lot of busy work is what I was finding. So I wanted them to get away from that and do something more engaging and watch their kids just eat it up. I mean, they couldn't believe it, how that's what motivates people to keep making them, is the response to their students. The other part is we didn't want teachers to have to make this all up. I know collaborating with other teachers is really one of the best parts of my instruction. Look, I have to share again. So I'm going to show you what we started at the same time. We started Teachers Give Teachers at the same time we were writing our book. And it started by word of mouth, and now we have over 6,000 followers on here. And people are coming on and just sharing lessons freely. Just posting all kinds of, here's an informative essay roadmap you might want, or writing multi-paragraph essay, and people are putting their lessons up here and just giving them away. It actually became so hard to find a lesson that we created a data bank on our website under the Teachers Give Teachers tab, and we encourage teachers to sign up, and our motto is give one, take one, where you can just go on and you can, search with key terms and find a lesson. And I love Google Docs because of this. You can just go to File, make a copy, and you can have any one of these lessons that you want and just change it up. I think teaching is so personal, and you want to be able to add your own personality to this. So you can go to File, make a copy, and add your standards and outcomes that you want to have happen on here. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I think that's something. Yeah, and I think that's something we just don't do well enough yet. One of the big benefits of Common Core is that everybody is now teaching the same standards.
Yes.
And I don't think as America we are doing a very good job of taking advantage of it with this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Where you can create something that is standards based and be like, oh, my fourth grade standards, no matter where I am, are the same as your fourth grade standards. Yes. Amazing. And helping each other out. Right. So I love that. I love that database. What a great opportunity.
Well, and an outcome that we did not expect was teachers were throwing out, hey, I've got a unit coming up on whatever they say. And does anyone have a HyperDoc? Well, someone else pops on and says, I don't have one, but I need one. Let's work together. And they planned it like across the country. We have so many of those that are popping up in the data bank. And it's really, that's like the benefit of it. It's just been so fun to watch that happening.
That's cool. Hey, Lisa, I want to give you a round of applause here. I want to let everybody know that I found you because I was searching around on the agenda for the Education on Air that's coming up next week. December 2nd, I believe, is when it starts. And you will be presenting an hour-long session on HyperDocs?
It's 30 minutes. It's actually on the 3rd by the time it comes to our time, 2 o'clock Pacific Coast time. And we are doing something very risky we've never done before. It's kind of a surprise, but I'll just let you know. We're going to be doing HyperDocs Live. So it's not a lecture. It's more of like, imagine Disney's Jungle Boat Tour. We're going to take you on a tour through HyperDocs while participants from all over the world are participating on actual HyperDocs. So.
Well,
I love that idea.
Yeah, I love that idea as well. So I always love it when I get to actually meet people who I've followed on social media for some time. So now I get to say I've met you, Lisa, face to face, sort of.
Well, good.
Thanks so much for being willing to come on the show.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. Justin, what's that link for the Education on Air? Do we have that? Oh, Education on Air. Okay, we'll make sure that's in the show notes as well.
We'll put that in the show notes for sure. But if people just search for Education on Air, they can register, and I'm sure they'll get notifications to their email and whatnot. So,
perfect. Great. Awesome. Well, thanks, Lisa. Really appreciate you spending time with us today. It's always so great when we can highlight some of the amazing stuff that's going on, and just another place for teachers to get resources. Give one, get one. I love that.
Yeah,
That's a great
So
thing.
good. So I really appreciate it. We had a couple more things to talk about. Lisa, you are more than welcome to stick around if you want to talk about the new custom templates that just came out in Slides and the new Slides API. Justin, do you want to talk about that?
Well, I just figured that since this is the Google Educator Group for Washington show, even though it seems like we have a new name for it now, Jeff, on deck. I love the baseball metaphor, but that always speaks to me. But so I haven't had a chance to play around with these new features in Slides necessarily, but it sounds like Google is now making it so that third-party developers can hook into your Slides and to be able to take advantage of great features. I'm assuming things like similar to maybe like add-ons, like with the Pull Everywhere add-on. I'm not sure how the Slides API and whatnot fits in to that, but I bet we'll see more from Google in the coming days and weeks. But also now you can, within your G Suite dashboard, you can turn on custom templates. And you can control from the admin side which people get to add templates to your organization. So those of us that have been in the Google infrastructure for a while know they used to have a kind of template feature that was sort of left alone and wasn't really being developed for and added onto. But I think now they're trying to reinvigorate that because they're seeing that organizations need to have the ability to customize the things that are available to their employees.
Yeah,
so,
when that went away, I remember a lot of people were like, what happened to the templates when they went away? So everybody's hope was they were going to do something better and bring it back, and they finally done that. So that's really good.
Right.
That's
Lisa,
great.
do you have anything to add as far as the Slides API or custom templates?
No, that's great. This is great news. I love hearing about updates.
Yeah, I wonder how that'll be able to take advantage within a HyperDoc. It sounds like a HyperDoc can be made within Slides, and then we'll see what kind of third-party tools are able to hook in there.
We actually talked about including our templates in the new templates. So who knows?
Great idea.
How's everybody doing with the new G Suite's name? Have we gotten? Is that still like?
It doesn't roll off the tongue for me.
It doesn't. It's just not. It's just. And now teachers are like, what? We've got something else to learn. I'm like, no, it's the same thing, different name. It's going to take a while, I think.
It's going to take a while for me too.
Yeah.
Still just trying to get people to know the difference between Google Docs and Google Drive. And now we're going to go from Google Docs to Google Drive, and then on top of that, the entire thing is called G Suite.
Oh my goodness.
The layers to learning, I tell you. So. All right. Well, thank you. That is great. We're going to wrap it up here because Justin has to head off to his child's parent conference. So we're going to get out of here a little bit early today. But
awesome. Sounds
Lisa,
good.
thank you again for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And again, you can catch her December 3rd at 2 o'clock Pacific time on the Education On Air conference. There'll probably be like 50,000 people there, so it'll be like a huge audience. It'll be so awesome. So,
I hope so.
Yeah. So that's going to be it for this episode. We're going to be back in the new year. Our next time we're going to be on air looks like it's going to be January 23rd of 2017, where you can listen to us live on YouTube or catch us in the download in the iTunes or any other your favorite podcast. You just search for GEGWA. Justin does the podcasting off of his website. I really appreciate all the work. I know how much time goes into downloading audio and editing audio and getting it up. It's tedious work for sure. So
labor of love.
Yeah, I know. So big thanks to both of you this week, and we'll see you both, and we'll see everybody in 2017. Have a good one.
Take care, folks. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Bye.